for the 2022 season. As you've heard, Robbie has turned the recording on. We're going to record this session so that it's available. It'll after the technical folks have a chance to mash it around and do whatever they do with it, it'll be available on the website for you to go and review, or if people were unable to join us tonight, they'll be able to do that. The format tonight is going to be question and answer. We're going to look for your comments and your thoughts on all of our proposals, but this is not the venue for that. I'm going to share my screen here just really quickly and show you that if you want to comment on any of our stuff, how you can do that. And this is going to guarantee that not only the folks that are here tonight, but also all of our biologists and our Fish and Wildlife commissioners see your comments, and those will be considered and wrapped into further deliberations before these are final. So to get to your, can you see my screen there? To get to where you can comment, or to get to a lot of the data that we're going to talk about tonight, just go to the Fish, Wildlife and Parks website, which if you can see it on my screen, is fwp.mt.gov. And if you go there, you're going to get something that looks about like what I've got here. And you just scroll down a little bit here, and in this corner, there's a big square graphic that says season setting, comment by October 20 on Montana's, etc. And if you click on that, that takes you to a page where everything you need to know for tonight is going to be housed. There is a place here where you can ask questions from the biologists. There's a meeting schedule if you want to join.
Bob, we cannot, at least I can't see your screen. So I think Robbie's coming in to make sure that we get that going. So we might back you up a couple steps. So.
Okay.
So you gotta hit share right here.
Share, there we go.
Is that working, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to start all over again here. You go to fwp.mt.gov. That's the main FWP website. If you scroll down here just a little way, you're going to see this big square graphic down in the corner that says season setting, comment by October 20th, etc. That links you to this page, and this page has got everything that we're going to talk about tonight. It's going to talk about the timeline. There's a place you can ask questions of the biologist specifically. Here is a schedule of all of the rest of the Zoom meetings in the rest of the state. And here's a how to comment. You can comment online. You can write a letter to the Fish and Wildlife Commission. You can write an email. I'm going to go through a little bit more on how to comment online, this part right here, which really is the most efficient and best way, and get your comments to the right people all of the time. So to do that, just keep on scrolling down here. And in our case, you're going to get to Region 5, South Central Montana. Little down arrow here has got all of our proposals that we're going to talk about tonight. And it's got a place to comment, and you can comment on, you can check off which hunting districts you want to comment on, leave your information here, and it's got a frame here for you to put your comments in, and then you click done, and it goes off to all the folks that need that. So that's a little bit about how you're going to comment. I hope that answers your question, Paul. And for tonight's session, we're going to be trying to answer questions. I'm going to unshare here. We're going to be trying to answer your questions about what's here so that you can be informed when you make your comments, and so that you have some information to work with there. For questions, at the bottom of your screen there someplace there should be a Q&A tab, and when you click on that, it's going to open up a place where you can ask us a question. You can put a question in. Robbie up here, and wave to us, Robbie. We'll sort those out, make sure that they get to the right biologist or manager. We'll answer all of those that we can live tonight. And those that are directed at a specific biologist, and that biologist can answer them, they can answer those by typing back to you, so you can watch that screen. But we will try to answer many of those questions as we can live, because we know that if you've got a question, it's likely that somebody else has the same question. So to get us started tonight, I'm going to first turn you over to Matt Ladd, and he is our regional wildlife manager. Matt, you're live.
Good evening. To start things off, I'll just do an introduction of the wildlife biologist staff here in Region 5. We'll kind of start with their areas, the farthest northern portion area of Region 5. Ashley Taylor covers the most northern portion. Sliding over to the west, Justin Paw covers what can be considered the western portion of Region 5. And then Megan O'Reilly covers an eastern portion of Region 5. And she is also our non-game biologist. So she kind of wears a couple of different responsibilities there. And then Sean Stewart is the biologist in the southern portion of Region 5. Mike Ruggles will kind of go over that again. So if you guys have specific questions for some of those districts, Mike's going to go over a map that kind of shows where those biologist portions are. So it might be a little bit easier for you to direct your questions based on that. The second thing I'd like to go over quick is just kind of a general timeline of how this is laid out. So starting on September 21st, public comment began after these proposals had been posted on the website. That comment period ends on October 20th. And then from October 21st through December 13th, Fish, Wildlife, and Park biologists will adjust changes based on your feedback and work with Director Hank Warsack and staff to draft proposals for the Wildlife Commission to review. On December 14th, the Wildlife Commission will review what proposals and review those proposals and determine which of those go forward for another 30-day comment period. Between December 15th and January 15th, that's the 30-day comment period. You guys will be able to make comments again in a similar structure to how you're making them now. But also within that period, on January 6th, there'll be a public meeting hosted by Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, along with the Citizens Advisory Council, where you will be able to ask questions and make comments as well. And then finally, in early February, the Fish and Wildlife Commission will adopt the final regulations that have been proposed. Now we'll turn it over to Mike Ruggles, and Mike Ruggles is going to give you an overview of the proposals that were made by Region 5.
Yeah, thanks, folks. So I'm the regional supervisor. I formerly was a fish manager, and before that, a fisheries biologist. So I do anticipate that my staff will interject as I potentially step into a wrong area and to correct me. I'm taking the liberty to share the information with you tonight so that I better build my understanding and work through this process. So it's a little bit different for me too, and it's been great working with the staff to do that. So any faux pas or missteps on my end, don't be surprised if the staff jumps in, and I'm encouraging them to do that. So please do that. I'll jump in. So sharing the screen, get that ready. All right, does everybody see the screen?
Yep, you're good, Mike.
Okay. So we are here tonight to talk about the proposed hunting season changes, in particular for Region 5 for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. As Matt was saying, these won't go in effect until the 2022 and 2023 hunting seasons. I do want to take this opportunity myself to thank the staff that have been working on this. It's a very experienced group of biologists. It's been a pleasure working with them. I'm very proud of the effort that they put into this. It's not always easy to look for changes when things are there, but this group grabbed that opportunity and have come up with, I think, some good ideas. We're likewise anticipating that we get some good comments through this process. There may be some things that we overlooked, missed, as we focused in on some of the things that were being asked of us. So I would like to just take this opportunity to have each of the biologists just say hi and then mention your years of service with us, and just in part so that the public can have a chance to hear you, and as we get into the evening, they might recognize who's talking and do that. So maybe start with Ashley, work around to Megan, down to Sean, and over to Justin.
I'm Ashley Taylor. I'm the Northern Biologist in Region 5. I have been in this area since 2011, so 10 years here this week. And yeah, a little bit more with the department overall.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yep.
Okay, got it. I'm Megan O'Reilly. I'm the area biologist out of Billings, and as Matt mentioned, the non-game biologist. I've been in my current position for about 7.5 years, working off and on with FWP for about 14 years.
I'm Sean Stewart. I'm the area biologist south of the Yellowstone in the Beartooth. I have 50 plus years of service, just about all of it here in the Beartooth.
I'm Justin Paw. I cover the western part of Region 5. I'm based in Big Timber, and I've been here for a little over 14 years now.
Thanks. And honestly, it's been a pleasure working with those folks. So anticipate some good questions for them tonight, and appreciate the hard work that we're about to present here tonight. So with that, thanks for those introductions, and we're going to move forward. Click there. So the objective of this process was to improve the customer service by making these hunting regulations simpler to understand. And those tasks were to review those hunting districts with a priority towards deer and elk. We'll be working on looking at several other species with time. And tonight we will be talking a little bit about antelope in Region 5. Within those hunting districts, we were asked to look if there was potential to reduce the number, increase the size, and eliminate portions if possible. We were also asked to review the license and permits types, or you might often see LPTs. So those are each one of the individual lines that are in the regulations for each of the districts. And so some of those work in multiple areas. Some of them are specific to districts. Some of them are licenses and some are permits. The ask was to look, are there ways to reduce the number and also to evaluate the date structure of those so that there's more consistency across those opportunities. We were supposed to strive to fit as many species into the same hunting district as possible. We did look at that, and I learned a lot from those conversations. We did take a look at that. We'll see more of that in the future. But tonight, mostly we'll be talking about changes in the hunting districts and the license types. With the biologists, their job is to look at the biology and is this manageable? And so for some background, we basically started as Region 5 as one district, and is that manageable? And honestly, it's not biologically. You're looking at different herds, different habitat types. And so what we ended up with is a few more than that, but fewer than what we have now. And then we were also guided with current species specific plans that were out there, and I've had a lot of hard work on them in the past. So Region 5 has 12 deer and elk districts currently. The proposal that is at hand has 10 districts. We have some of those that were combined, some of them that are the same, and some of them that are new, but after visiting are actually old districts that became portions. So there's a little bit of mix of some history in here and why we're doing this. I've had questions in the past through some of the open houses, how do you manage to track game species through this. If that question comes up, that is in our minds, and we have a plan for that, so that even though these districts have changed shape and some size, we'll still be able to track trends within those districts. That makes sense. Region 5 has 62 LPTs for elk and 37 LPTs for deer. And so that's part of what makes this book fairly large. And in this proposal, we've reduced that down to 27 LPTs for elk and 30 LPTs for deer. So here's a visual representation of what we have. And there's a reason why I've left 411 in here at the top. These hash mark areas are the portions that we had. And so we would get a lot of questions about, you know, where are the portions at? Why do we have regulations on the portions? Am I in the right place? In the field questions and questions coming up early, along with what hunting districts and things like that. We are looking at making a combination of some of the licenses in hunting district 411 that will include 511 and 530 under this proposal. But the first step, if we remove those areas where we had the portions, different regulations for those, it would look like that. We took it to the next step, and these numbers here in the background will stay, but you'll see some of those lines change. And that's the map. If you were to go to the website and download it and look for Region 5 or look at the statewide one, what the proposal would be. On those maps, these colors that are lighter colored, there wasn't a change in those district boundaries. The darker reds, there was a change in the boundaries, and those boundaries from the old districts are in smaller font and behind. So we've combined 511, 530, 570, 500, 590 stayed the same, 502. You'll notice down here that is one of the portions, and again was a previous district from the 1980s and potentially up to the early 1990s, but at least back at that time. And that one is important for us to manage biologically. But that shows the visual change of what's being proposed for Region 5. Now I'm going to go through some of them that are regional or cross-regional changes rather than district by district. And the first one is the 920 either sex elk archery permit, which was available for use in Region 7 and Region 4, as well as Region 5. We're proposing to remove those. That is a large area for us to be able to direct hunters into those areas and be able to use that as a management tool. The proposal that we have on the table at this point turns some of that area into general elk licenses. It also includes us building in with District 411, 21, which would include 511, 530, which would then be called 535 on our side, but include hunting district 411. 595-20 then would encompass the Beartooth and Yellowstone herds into this area, so that there's multiple districts that are covered by that license. On the other side of that, we have Antlerless Whitetail, or the Deer B licenses. We're proposing to remove the 597, 598, and 599 licenses and replace those with a single license, 005-00. Those licenses have typically had surplus licenses available and likely will even under this scenario. So there's going to be increased opportunity there, which the biologist can speak to as we go down the road. Antlerless mule deer, so the new districts would be there. This is one of the reasons that the deer number of LPTs didn't change all that much. We still have the whitetail antlerless, mule deer antlerless, and then the either sex. And so only the reduction by the number of areas or districts resulted in that small change down to 27 LPTs for mule deer. So these each should be managed separately within those districts. The antelope, same pattern. There'll be some that have changed, some that have been combined to match up with the deer and elk, and some that don't. And you'll see that there's some different numbering as well, so that geographically thinking left to right, that those numbers make a little bit more sense than they have maybe in the past. So, and I'll go through those district specific changes here in a moment. So the Region 5 management biologist, just one more time, and in part, so that if you have questions and you maybe want to direct those to a specific biologist, you'll be able to reference or jot down the district that you were most interested in. So Sean has been responsible for and currently responsible for 502, 510, 520, and 575. And the proposed areas would be 502, 525, 555, and 575. These biologists will overlap some of these districts and will continue to overlap, as they also overlap in some of their species-specific duties. So you may get an answer from a biologist that you're asking, but that answer might be better suited to one of the other biologists. So don't be surprised if that happens. But Sean has those districts. Megan is responsible for 590 and proposed 590. It's a rather large area, and she is, as well as a management biologist, our non-game species biologist for the region. Justin Pa, districts 560, 570, and 580. The proposed would be 515, 525, 565, and 580. And then Ashley Taylor is responsible for 500, 511, 530, 540, and proposed would be 515, 535, and 540. So for those of you who have not taken the opportunity to go dig into the website and see what that information looks like, here's a quick glance at what Region 5 has to offer, aside from the maps that I've shown you, which will be available there either in statewide or by the region, other than the Antelope map. If you need that, please contact us and we can get that to you directly. But the information for Antelope by district are in there. I'm about to read through the draft changes that are recommended for each one of the hunting districts without speaking towards the biological implications or the social implications. I'm going to apologetically do that and read through them, deer, elk, and antelope, just so that if people are trying to frame a question, they might hear something specific to a district or an area that they're interested in. As Bob had indicated at the beginning of this, this would be the website that you would go to, or you could Google FWP hunting regulation changes and probably pretty easily find that link and jump in there. In addition to the information that you would pull from this, we also have generated the tables of what they would look like in the 22 regulations if they were approved as we've discussed and described. We anticipate that there will be comments that will adjust this as well as part of the process that we're going through. So, but as we speak now, this is currently what they would look like. So if people are wondering what those dates and seasons look like and what those tag numbers might mean, this is what it would look like. So the reduction in these LPTs is what I've talked about earlier. So after putting you through this next process of just quickly reading through these, we will be on to the most important part of this effort tonight, and that's gathering your questions so that you can help develop your comments and better understand what we're doing and where we're at. And we really will appreciate your comments as we are working on this. So thanks for that. So here we go. A quick read through, starting out with deer. So this would be hunting district 502. And in this one, it would maintain the general season, either sex mule deer, either sex whitetail deer, maintain the 502 antlerless mule deer B license. Again, these are all for deer for this first run. For hunting district 515 as proposed, it would combine hunting district 570 and 500 to make a new hunting district we would call 515. This would combine the 500-00 and 570-00 mule deer B licenses that are consistent with the new district. Hunting district 525, this would combine hunting district 520 and hunting district 560 into a new hunting district 525. The general season antlered buck mule deer, either sex white-tailed deer licenses would be available there. Combine the mule deer 520-00 and 560-00 permits consistent with the combined hunting districts. In hunting district 525, the either sex mule deer youth opportunity would continue September 4th to October 17th for archery and rifle, October 23rd to November 28th. Hunting district 535, we'd combine hunting district 511 and 530 into a new hunting district 535 and expand hunting district 530 mule deer buck permit to hunting district 511. Combine the 510 or hunting district 511-00 and hunting district 530-00 antlerless mule deer B licenses to create one 535-00 mule deer B license valid across that single district. We'd extend existing 53550 mule deer buck permits to the existing 511 and the newly created hunting district 53550 mule deer buck permit. We combine the 51100 and 53000 antlerless mule deer B licenses to create one mule deer B license valid across one district. Hunting district 540, maintain the either sex mule deer youth opportunity, again, September 4th to October 17th and October 23rd to November 28th. Increase the mule deer B license opportunities from 10 to 50. Hunting district 555, combined deer 510 with the portion of 520 south and west of the West Fork of Rock Creek to make a new hunting district 555. This is one for removal of the portions. General season antlered buck mule deer, either sex white-tailed deer would be available. Combine the mule deer permits from those two districts in the portion of 520 south and east and west of Rock Creek with 51000. Consistent with the combined hunting districts and general season either sex mule deer.
Correction on that, Mike.
Yep.
That is not an antlered buck mule deer. That's an either sex mule deer.
Oh, thank you. I just read it wrong. Thank you. All right. And so that again was for hunting district 555, and thanks, Sean. On to 565. We would create this new district from former house or hunting district 560, which is that portion south of Falls Creek. Hunting district 575, general season antlered buck mule deer and either sex white-tailed deer licenses will be available. And either sex mule deer youth opportunities, again with the same dates, September 4th to October 17th, October 23rd to November 28th. Hunting district 580, that's general deer license will remain unchanged in this district. Either sex mule deer youth opportunities following those same dates that have been stated. And then maintain the 58000 antlerless mule deer B license. And then to wrap it up for deer, out hunting district 520, that boundary will remain unchanged in this case, and we would maintain the 59000 antlerless mule deer B licenses. Thanks for bearing with through that. Jump into elk. This is where you'll appreciate that we went from 62 down to a much smaller number, I think. So elk, hunting district 502. We'll continue to maintain the general season spike bull or antlerless elk. Remove the elk permit 502-20 and add elk permit 520-20. Maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for the removed 59000 elk B licenses. And we would add a regional subunit elk archery. Hunting district 515. This combined hunting districts 570 and 500 into the 515 district is being proposed. We would add early shoulder season dates into this district, remove 520 and 570-20 either sex elk permits and replace those with general elk license either sex opportunity. Maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for removed 59500 elk B license. Remove the 520 and 570-20 either sex elk permits and replace with general elk licenses either sex opportunity. Hunting district 525. This is another combined district with 520 and 560. And this will be with either sex elk during the general season. Remove the elk permit 520-20, remove permit 520-00, remove 520-00, maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for those removed elk B licenses, and then remove the 560-00 elk B license. Hunting district 535. This is combining hunting districts 511 and 530 into 535. We would add early and late shoulder seasons in this district, maintain but increase the either sex elk permit valid in archery and rifle seasons from 300 to 400 permits. Create an either sex archery permit valid in archery seasons. Maintain the 411-00 elk B license and maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for those that were removed from 595 elk B. Hunting District 540, we would maintain either sex elk on the general elk license, add early and late shoulder seasons, remove 54000 elk B license, maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for the removed 59500 elk B license and the hunting district specific B licenses. Moving to Hunting District 555. This is combining 510 and the portion of elk district 520 consistent with combined hunting districts. Maintain that 00500 license and increase the number to account for removed 59500 elk B license. Remove the elk B license 520-01 and add a regional subunit elk archery. 565, this is the newly created district from the former Hunting District 560 portion of South Falls Creek. 575 will change from spike bull or antlerless elk to either sex elk and add early and late shoulder season dates. Remove 500-20 and 570-20 either sex elk permits and replace with the general elk license and either sex opportunity. Maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for remove 59500 elk B licenses. Hunting District 580 for elk. This is remove the portion of the south of Sweetgrass Creek, add early and late shoulder seasons, remove either sex permit for portion south of Sweetgrass Creek, remove the 58000 permit, maintain the 005 license and increase the number to account for those removed from 59500 elk B license. And for elk to wrap up, Hunting District 590, maintain the general season spike bull or antlerless elk. Combine north and south portions of Hunting District 590 and licenses 590-20 and 590-21 to be consistent with those combined portions and add 70 additional permits. Maintain the 00500 license and increase the number to account for removed 59500 elk B license and add the regional subunit elk archery. Those subunits were the ones that I showed on the map for those that are wondering what that means. So from there, we'll jump into the antelope. Just take a couple more minutes. Hunting District 506. This is renamed from 510 506. We're gonna, part of this exercise was also to align boundaries to match across species. And we did find some discrepancies that we think are fairly benign and allow us to clean that up a little bit for folks when they're out on the ground. So this would align the southern boundary to match the southern boundary for deer and elk district boundary in that one. Hunting District 516. This combines antelope hunting districts 501 and 513 into a new hunting antelope district 516. This would remove the antelope license types for 501 and 513 30s and add a single new license type 516 30. Hunting District 526 for antelope. This is Hunting District 511, so not to be confused with elk and deer, and now renamed Hunting District 526. Align the northern boundary with the Yellowstone River to I-94. Hunting District 536 for antelope, renamed from 530. So stays the same, but also to reduce confusion with the deer and elk districts. Aligns the southern boundary to match the southern boundary for deer and elk districts, which would be Highway 12 instead of the Musselshell River. 546 would be current Hunting District 500 and renamed to District 546. Hunting District 556 would combine the antelope hunting districts 512 and 514 into 556. It will align the northern boundary to match the northern boundary for deer and elk district, which is I-90 instead of the Yellowstone River. We'd remove the 512 30 license and the 514 30 licenses, maintain the existing Hunting District 512 and 530 boundary that doesn't align with the regional boundaries. So we continue to do that in that one. In Hunting District 576, this is combining Hunting Districts 550, 560, and 570 into a single district 576. We would align the southern boundary to match the southern boundary for deer and elk. And that would be I-90 instead of the Yellowstone River again. Remove 550, 560, and 570 30 licenses and have them be the new Hunting District 576 30 licenses. Hunting District 586 is simply renaming Hunting District 590 to create some separation in referencing to deer and elk districts. 596, it's another rename. Be 540 renamed to Hunting District 596. We'll align the southern boundary from the Yellowstone River to I-94. Align the northern boundary to be the same as deer and elk, Highway 12 instead of the Muscle Shell River. So I appreciate people bearing through. I hope that was helpful for those that have specific questions about specific districts and changes. Again, I want to remind folks exactly what I read, plus the implications for the biology and the social implications that were at least top of the list, made the lists that are available on the website. In addition, each one of those with the dates are then shown in the tables that are on the website. So please refer to those as you need, share with others as you'd like. And so we're going to move on to the most important part of this. We'll start out, I think, since we don't have a large group, maybe doing it with the chat piece, and then maybe we'll transition, given time, into some verbal questions if we need to do that, since it doesn't look like we've got a lot of folks. So with that, thank you and for taking the time to join us and to check in. And with that, we'll start to go with questions and see if we can't work through this technology. Look forward to the day when we can all be back in the room and pointing at maps and kind of separating folks out to have these conversations. But for now, we'll make the best of where we're at with this tool. So thanks, folks. And so Robbie, if you want to get us started.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. So we had a question asked by Eric, and Matt expounded on it. So do you want me to read these, Mike, and then kind of go over them?
Yep, you can read them, and then one of the staff can take them. They can click on answer live and go from there. So
okay. So Matt kind of answered this, but I'll go to him. So the question was, why are the northern Bull Mountains joined with the southern Little Snowies in Hunting District 530? Why not have the Bull Mountains and the Snowy Mountains in separate hunting districts? I own smaller tracts of land in 590 and 530 in the Bull Mountains, and with the removal of the 900 archery only elk permits, I will only be able to hunt one or the other for archery bull elk while they migrate across Highway 12 frequently. Why not at least have Region 5 archery only permits if you are eliminating the 900 archery only elk permits? So Matt, would you like to expound on that more verbally?
Yeah, I can quick. So I did type an answer for Eric there, but
Oh, there you go.
for the most part, within those hunting districts, 511 and 530 that were combined for 535, we're also considering mule deer in the management of those, and buck to doe ratios in 511 and 530 have been historically low, and they're especially low in hunting district 511 right at the moment. So in addition, we were also managing elk for the Snowies as one elk herd and including 411. That said, hunting district 590 and hunting district 530 do have similar language in the elk plan to manage for older age class bulls. That being said, we have had similar comments from people that do have land in two different hunting districts that are not, would be, challenged with only hunting one of their land areas if the permit was separated. And we have heard the comment, and the example I gave in my written statement was that, why not have a Region 5 elk archery permit that covers all of Region 5? with the 900, with removing the 900 elk archery permit, the idea was to redistribute hunters across the landscape. We were getting a lot of comments from hunters saying that the 900 permit wasn't working very well because everybody was showing up, for example, in the Ashland country, with the press coming out of the really large trophy bulls being harvested. With that idea, also, when you have overcrowding and people hunting elk in an overcrowded situation, the elk harvest is not as successful. So we didn't necessarily want to go to a single region 5 elk archery permit and kind of diminish what we started by, removing the 900 permit. That being said, we did combine some elk archery permit areas, and that could be a comment that we combine those as well, and it would not affect the mule deer management if we, with the mule deer permit in region, well, in the old, what would be considered the old 511 and 530 put together for mule deer management.
Thanks, Matt. Is there any other comments from any of the other biologists on that one? So the next question is from Paul. Paul wants to make sure he understands that hunting district 575 and 580 are going to a general season for both rifle and archery and removing it from the 920 bundle. 575 and 580. Mike, do you have that in front of you?
Pull that up. Yeah, and if one of the bios can jump on that one, they can take it right away. So that'd be Sean.
So yes, 575 would be removed from the 900 bundle. Only the southern, and Justin can correct me, but only the southern portion of 580 south of Sweetgrass Creek was included in that 900 bundle, and that portion is going away. So it is correct that those portions are going away from the limited archery.
Strictly to a general elk license.
Yes.
Yep. And part of that driver is that we're well above the established quotas for those areas. Is that correct? And that might be a Justin question as well. But
yes, we're well above our elk management plan objectives in those districts, and that was one of the drivers for removing those either sex permits and going to the general license either sex structure for both rifle and archery season.
And then it should be noted that new area 515, old 500 and 570 are also being removed from that 900 license and going to a general.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Next question is from Mike. Mike says, I see there are no limited entry mule deer units proposed. I know we are currently dealing with CWD, but is there any discussion on increasing mule deer quality via limited entry hunt or reduced season lengths, particularly in 510 or what should be the new 555? So discussing mule deer.
Yeah, we move that to Sean.
There was never a limited entry in 510. We had an unlimited license in 510 from 1998 to 2018, I believe. We removed that to address the CWD situation there with the objective of reducing buck-doe ratios and reducing population density. Those are both factors in the spread and increase in incidence of CWD. And that was a management decision that we stepped away from in 2018 by going to the general either sex season in 510. And of course, that was expanded to the new 555.
Thanks, Sean. Another question from Paul. Why don't you follow the elk management plan and go to a general archery season for hunting districts 590 and 411, especially when these districts are over objective?
Matt and Ashley on that one.
Yeah. Again, within the elk management plan, and then as the discussion has gone, in the elk management plan, hunting district 590 and the 534, the 530, 411, 511 combination, especially the 530, there's language in that to manage for older age class bulls. That being said, also in management for older age class bulls, that plays a part in the health of the elk population. Not that, not that the population is hurting at all. As you said, they are over objective. However, with elk archery permits going to either sex, the efficiency of archery hunters that we've seen in other hunting districts across the state, archery hunters can be very impactful to very efficient harvest of older age class bulls. So that being said, we are following language from the elk plan.
And Ashley, could you speak to about the opportunity? I think there's an increase in opportunity in those as well.
Yeah, for the snowies, we looked at the 2020 elk harvest information. And so we took how many archery hunters hunted in 411, 511, and 530, added them together, which was about 1,041. And then we increased that to 1,100 for the archery permits proposed for the snowies. We did similar with the other archery permit that we've got proposed that covers the Bull Mountains. We took the 2020 from our harvest survey that we do and how many hunters were in those districts, 590, 502, 510, that portion of 520. Added those up from 2020, that was 782. So then we increased that to the proposed 800 archery permits.
Thanks, Ashley. So Eric asked, at some point, could you pull up the archery only bull elk subunit slide again? I believe there are only 2 different elk subunits in all of Region 5, correct? If so, would it be bad to just have a Region 5 archery only elk permit, given that the Western elk hunting districts in Region 5 appear to have went to a general license? So Matt or others that want to take it, but I did share that slide. I think that's the one that Eric's referring to. So.
Again, the idea in removing the 900 elk archery permit was to redistribute archery elk hunters across the landscape. And in doing so in Region 4, Region 5, and Region 7, that was the goal. Other regions are having specific elk archery permits for portions of the region or specific hunting districts in the region. And we thought that that is a good idea when considering redistributing elk archery hunters across the landscape to have different permits.
Yep. And Paul, no, thanks for asking the questions. So they're ones that we've been mulling over and thinking about as well. And so it's good to see what people are thinking. you know, it'd be a technology change for us, but if the team's good with it, I think we could open it up for verbal. I think that we just don't have that many folks, and so might be a little more efficient. Is that good, Matt? Bob?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Hey, Bob, are you good with that too?
Yeah, I'm fine. And Robbie, I just think needs to click those folks off as they raise their hand. Is that correct?
Yeah, so something Mike, I made you the host somehow. I don't know how I did that, so I can't unmute people, but you can, I think, on your end.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this and see if I can figure out how to do that.
So if you go to the attendees at the top, and then you can see their names. I think if you go to more.
Okay. So go to the attendees, go to the top.
And you can
Oh, there it says I can
somebody
allow to
raises
talk.
their
So
hand.
if they raise their hand, is that how that works?
Yep. And you can just unmute them. So if anybody has a question, they can raise their hand. The button's at the bottom of the screen.
And Mr. Hagengruber, if you want to test us, more than happy to see if that works for us. So. Maybe they're.
I just punched the button that allowed Dave to talk.
So Paul Ellis is raising his hand. If you can unmute him, Mike.
There we go. Allow to talk. So Paul, go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go. That should work.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I've talked to quite a few of the biologists and Matt, and God, you guys have been great to work with, and a lot. I appreciate all your answers and questions being answered, and your help on all this stuff, just trying to wade through it. So, you know, I appreciate the willingness to maybe make some changes and make this archery elk thing a little bit better for everybody. So I guess my main concern is, you know, get away from, you know, trying to work with landowners more, trying to incentivize them instead of trying to hold a hammer over their head. So thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for bearing with us as we're learning this technology as well. So
It's kind of interesting to watch this. It's kind of modern technology. It's pretty good.
Yep.
So
yep.
I'm going to leave now. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Have a good night, Paul.
Take care.
Thanks.
So we can run through the list if anybody else has got anything to say. There we go. So Mike, I think you can go ahead and unmute and you'll be able to visit.
Yeah, you guys got me here.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, I just had just one more clarification here. For the portion of the existing 520 that's going to go to that new 555, talking elk this time. Is that going to go to a general permit, a general season elk permit now? So that portion, I think southeast of the West Fork of Rock Creek is what it was.
Sean, if you
Yeah,
want.
Mike, that's, we will be maintaining the limited entry either sex license for that area. And that license would be also valid in hunting district 502 to the north, because those elk do interchange. So mule deer or deer, the deer AHM document doesn't really allow us to combine 502 and 5 with the 555. So we are making those elk either sex licenses or permits valid in both of those hunting districts.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. You have any others?
This is Eric. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
We can hear
Yep,
you.
there you are. Yep.
Just kind of a couple follow-up questions. It kind of sounds like the 530 design is more for mule deer, but it kind of spills over to elk. Is that kind of part of the answer?
Yeah, Ashley can jump in here too, but elk, managing elk in the snowies and putting 530, 511 and keeping them with 530, or I'm sorry, keeping them all together and managing elk for the snowies as one group was a big consideration there as well. With that said, mule deer management is we have to be a little more specific. You know, when we're managing for mule deer, they're a little more vulnerable, especially in that habitat area on the southern portion of the snowies. That is correct. But the overall goal there for elk was to manage them together. All of those districts are, there's a lot of elk, you know, and over objective elk numbers. And as you know, Eric, probably that access is, you know, difficult for management of elk there. With that said, it was also important, you know, you had a similar question that a lot of archery hunters out of, for example, Lewistown raised, and they wanted to be able to hunt elk both in, you know, 411 and in 530 because maybe they have access in both of those existing hunting districts as they are now. So that consideration was also made, and biologically that worked to have that together so that they could be managed the same.
You kind of mentioned, I mean, there's not much public land. There's not much accessible land kind of in 590 or essentially 530. So by having two elk subunits for archery, does that really help disperse the crowding? Or, I mean, if you went to just one region 5, since the whole western part of region 5 appears to have went general, I mean, is that feasible? I mean, that'll be my comment when I send it in, but it may just be kind of a wasted effort. But I mean, is this kind of baked in the cake, or is there still potential flexibility of something of that nature?
You know, I think, Eric, that is going to depend on kind of what the comments are that come in for those particular things. One thing that we're also kind of looking at is, you know, just the flux of population increase in Montana, and especially, you know, the way it looks with the Billings area and Bozeman and things too, that they're just even on the land that is accessible, kind of managing elk archery hunters and dispersion. So, you know, that we can get some harvest. And, you know, if you got too many people on the landscape and elk all flood off of public land that are potentially available on public land, and they're all of a sudden gone, you get virtually no elk harvest. So yeah, those are good considerations. And like I said, you know, in my typed answer and earlier, I encourage you to make those comments, and we'll, you know, have to see what the director's office staff and you know, what we can come up with to accommodate some of the comments that are made.
What does it kind of look like in region 4? Are there like elk subunits for the archery only, or do they have them really chopped up, or is there just a couple, or do you even know?
You know, I don't know for that. Ashley may be able to tell you a little bit more of that.
And she's clicking on too, I do want to interject that, you know, none of this is baked. None of it's been finalized or decided on. So there's lots of opportunity for adjustments. You know, this was sitting down, coming up with some thoughts and ideas that we were looking at, trying to meet those objectives that I had brought up. And so these comments, like Matt said, will be helpful in making those discussions. And some of those discussions have already started. You know, does this work? Why doesn't this work? And then pairing it up with those species specific plans, and you know, how do we manage for potential things in the future as well. So Ashley, thanks.
Eric, I only know that so 411, 511, and 530, the snowies, we kept those together because that's how we've been managing elk for the last 30 years. I know Region 4 has some changes as well, since they proposed to pull out of that 900-20 bundle. Beyond 411, I don't have exact answers, but you could go on our website and look at what they have proposed. And then their open house Zoom meeting like this is tomorrow night. So you could look at that as well.
I mean, the slide you have for Region 5 is good. It kind of shows the depiction. I was just kind of curious to how chopped up some other regions are. And are some of these slides going to be in the public domain later on, or?
Public domain, I think through the recordings for sure. And I'm probably fine with shipping them out as a PDF if we need to do that. It will make the transitions kind of weird as it's PowerPoint, so.
Yeah, all of this whole evening here is recorded. And it'll end up on the website here. So if you want to go back and look at some of that stuff, you can do it that way.
Okay.
There may be an opportunity for us to just put the PowerPoint up there without much of the chatter that goes along with it. And if you want to go and look at maps, some of those maps will be made available also as it develops. Keep in mind that this is just the biologist's first blush at trying to meet the simplification precepts. And this now is going to go to, with all of these comments, are going to go back to the biologists, and they're going to take a look and see if there's anything that they need to change before it goes to the Helena staff, and the Helena staff will adjust it before it goes to the commission. And then after it goes to the commission, it'll come back here again. So there's plenty of opportunities for comment, and we encourage you to do that.
So I was also just going to express support for the 535, keeping it kind of a permit for mule deer bucks, I guess. So I think that's good. The question I would have there, and maybe it's in the literature, but how did you, I mean, you combined two areas. I thought one was a general 530 had always been draw for mule deer. How did you set the quota, I guess, for that, or preliminary quota?
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. So I've increased the mule deer buck permit in 530 the last year, just trying to, we have CWD risk on the landscape. So trying to maintain those buck doe ratios above what it was when it was a general license, but also keep an eye to that CWD risk. So I increased those. We're at about 650, I believe. We usually average about 170 mule deer bucks harvested in 511. So I added those. And then that's where I've proposed to have that mule deer buck permit. Just kind of trying, because 511 has been a mule deer buck permit, or mule deer buck on the general license restrictive season package for about 12 years. And so just kind of trying to account for that mule deer buck harvest we've had, but also try and increase the buck doe ratio in 511 as well.
So do you think the draw odds would be similar, or is it really hard to tell?
I think it would probably be similar. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a little bit of looking into a crystal ball with that. We'll have to kind of see where we shake out.
I mean, that's just the other general comment. I mean, with all these changes, I mean, nobody has a clue really what the odds are going to be for any unit. I mean, you can maybe make some guesstimations, but I mean, you kind of knew your chances with like the 900 archery elk permit, and it certainly wasn't 100% anymore, but some of these others are going to be a real shot in the dark, especially for like some of the 700 units for archery elk. So, and I don't know, I mean, is there anything you all could do to kind of maybe help people before they apply, to kind of educate them on the probabilities, or kind of some of the adjustments that are being made and that, or is it just going to be kind of the first year you'll figure it out kind of after the results come out?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a round of data for that to really have some certainty. We have some anticipations that, a lot of folks pick the area they go to because it's the area they go to. It's not about the population. It's about where they've been and what they know, with a handful moving around and just kind of chasing where the opportunities at better. So that's I don't think we're going to have that answer up front easy enough or well enough. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, one thing I would say to that Eric is, the old data prior to having the 900 permit, some of that may give a little indication as to what the draw stats might be, but elk archery hunting in general across the state of Montana the popularity of it has just done nothing but exponentially increase over the last 30 years. And especially in the last, 10 to 20. And so even going off of that old data and trying to predict something like that, I think you were still a shot in the dark, as you mentioned. So, I would have to agree with what Mike stated, that we're just really going to need a kind of a new year of data and see where we're at, and even more past that, a couple of 2 to 3 years of data on once people kind of settle again into their elk archery ideas and where they want to put in and hunt elk, then we'd know more. But yeah, it's going to be tough to predict those.
All right. Well, I thank you for your time. That's all the questions I had.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep, thanks.
Open for
Anybody
some
else?
others.
Yeah, if you've got questions, if we can just get you to hit your raise hand button there, and we can see that you would like to talk with us.
Or you can click into the chat that we can unmute you as well. So, okay. We might just kind of hang out for about another 10 or 15 minutes and see if anybody shows up late. Other than that, we'll probably start to disperse here at 7:20. We'll call and see if anybody else comes in. Does that work, Bob and Matt?
Yeah, that works for me. Those folks that came and joined us tonight, really appreciate it. As we go through this simplification process, it's going to be really, really important that we hear from hunters and folks that are the users of our resources as to how they do that and how this is going to affect them and what they would prefer to see, because that all of that will be taken into consideration several times between now and the middle of February when these become final.
Right. Well, I do appreciate the staff all the time that you took to pull this together and allowing me to go through this. Part of this is for me for prepping for another round. So thanks to the bios for that. So.
We have Jacob has his hand raised. Mike, if you want to unmute him.
There we go. Oh. And then Jacob, you can go ahead and unmute.
Can you hear me?
There you are. Yep. Thanks.
I'm driving. I apologize.
Be careful.
Thank you. What I heard, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but it seemed like I heard a lot of mention of increasing elk shoulder season opportunity. So assuming that that's a fair sentiment, I guess kind of what justification are you guys looking at that supports that notion of adding additional elk shoulder seasons or elk shoulder season opportunities maybe?
Yeah, it'd be a Matt or Ashley likely question, and other bios, feel free to interject if you'd like. So.
Elk shoulder season. Well, the commission, I don't know how much you're aware of what the commission's been doing, Jacob, but the commission did open up more elk shoulder season opportunity here in the last, or actually 2 commission meetings ago now. In those over objective areas where there, lots and lots of elk I think that was some of their goal is to, get some of that elk harvest going. And maybe accommodate people that are having elk problems on their property and, maybe reduce some game damage and things like that. I guess, Ashley, if you had more or any of the biologists for that matter, that had more to comment on that, I would encourage you to do so.
Yeah, I think as part of the objective of this was to standardize season dates kind of everywhere. And so with the commission making that change to add back in shoulder season opportunity, Region 4 also has maintained a lot of their shoulder season opportunity. So with us being over objective in most of the districts, we submitted that as a proposal here to add back early and late shoulder seasons. And we welcome public comment on that to see what folks think about it. And we'll kind of take it from there as the next steps through the process. But it was kind of an effort to standardize some of those dates across the state.
Okay. Yeah, just a follow-up to that. And again, I just see my world and my subset. I guess the circle of hunters I know feel like the shoulder season has been a net negative in the hunting world, just adding prolonged pressure and not really achieving the objective. I certainly don't see the data that you guys see. I don't see what elk are being killed on private ranches. Is there data, I guess, from your guys' perspective, just generically, does that seem to be working as a management tool as desired? Because I guess my feedback is just general hunters is it's been viewed as a failure.
I guess I can comment overall on that some, and I think Ashley will be able to as well. We haven't seen, our elk over objective elk areas in Region 5 we're not making headway. They're becoming more and more over objective. So I think really, Jacob, probably the more glooming issue is probably access to elk in Region 5. We just don't have, a large proportion of public land in the region where people can access elk in most seasons, whether it's a shoulder season or a general season or whatever. So overall, are we reducing elk numbers with the shoulder seasons? I can't sit here and say yes that we are, and whether that's a measurement of success or not, or whether the shoulder seasons are a measure, harvesting those shoulder seasons is a measure of success or not. I can't say. One thing I can say is any elk that we're harvesting in an over objective area is obviously a step in the right direction to get us to objective. But elk recruitment in those areas is far exceeding what the harvest is.
So it is one of those tools that allows some opportunity, and we recognize that it's a mixed bag. There are those that really like it, either as public hunters. We also have folks that don't as public hunters, and likewise landowners that like it and landowners that don't like it. So it is truly a mixed bag, as you're well aware. So
as far as your question about the data, I would say it's variable across the region. In my areas, I've got some districts that even over the years with all this shoulder season opportunity, harvest stayed about the same, population stayed about the same. Other areas, I've seen the population kind of slow down in population growth. Harvest has increased quite a bit. Other parts of my area, I've seen, increased elk harvest and still some increase in population size. And I think as we look around the region, that's kind of a similar story. It's very hunting district specific. Some you see an increase in elk harvest and then a corresponding reaction in the population numbers. And then others, shoulder seasons being open really didn't affect whether or not folks got access to elk. And so it was kind of just the same story, pre and post shoulder season.
Thanks, Ashley and Matt. And we can go longer if there's more discussion too, so. Seeing none, we'll probably wrap up here at 7:20 then, so. We're gonna have to figure out the elevator music for the next round, Robbie.
I'll work on it. Anybody else?
We'll sort of wrap things up then if we don't have any other comments. Appreciate the participation. Appreciate seeing some of our colleagues that are jumping on to see what they can do good, bad, and indifferent during your sessions. Of course, any comments or questions, we're happy to answer or to consider. And the best way to comment, by far the best way to comment, is to jump onto the web page and go and find the comment section there that I pointed out earlier, and make your comments there. That way the commission, the biologists, the managers, everybody gets your comments, rather than them having to paw through a recording of this hour and 20 minutes of presentation and question and answer here to try to glean some comments out of that. So make sure that you jump on and make your comments online, and we'll be happy to hear them and take them into consideration. Anything else, Matt or Mike, that we need to cover before we call it an evening?
Nope. If Dave or Gary need anything too, I think Gary's off, but Dave, if there's anything you wanted to grab us for your guys' prep, I believe you guys are tomorrow, feel free to ask. So.
Nope, I think I'm good if you guys can hear me.
Yep.
Smooth.
Hey.
Good job.
Oh, thank you. So
All right,
I visited Randy too. So
yeah, we're going to get Robbie then to shut off the recording on this, and we'll call an evening. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and we hope that we see your comments.
thanks, everybody. Have a good night.